The immensity of the ocean is a canvas painted with waves and currents being in equal parts, a matrix of overflowing life and a vast and deep reliquary of secrets. It is not human will but the inexorable cycle of nature that governs when and how the sea, through its ancestral currents and tireless tide, decides to return to the world a portion of what it has claimed. This phenomenon, when it manifests itself in the appearance of fragments of corroded metal and materials worn down by the brutal assault of saltwater on a remote beach, acts as a powerful spark for the collective imagination. The event resonates with the echo of lost stories, legendary shipwrecks, and, in the sensibilities of the modern age, with the lingering specter of missing aircraft. Leave your like, subscribe, and share. Let's begin. In the contemporary aeronautical context, when discussing the emergence of aircraft wreckage in the Indian Ocean, the attention of the research community, the families of the victims, and the global public inevitably and painfully turns to a single modern enigma: the Malaysia Airlines flight MH370. Although MH370 disappeared on March 8, 2014, a little over a decade ago, its case has become established as the archetype of the modern air disappearance. It is a mystery so profound, complex, and resistant to resolution that its wandering fragments, appearing on distant shores, serve as the physical materialization of the persistence of the great oceanic secrets. The MH370 is not just an accident. It is the ghost that the sea continues to spit out, a constant reactivation of a wound that history and modern technology have proven incapable of fully closing. On March 8, 2014, the world witnessed an event that defied all logic, technological capabilities, and established air safety protocols. Flight MH370, a Boeing 777-200ER flying the route between Kuala Lumpur and Beijing with 239 souls on board, disappeared from civilian radars abruptly and inexplicably. Subsequent military data suggested a dramatic and deliberate deviation from its planned route, leading the aircraft to fly south over the unexplored vastness of the Indian Ocean until its fuel reserves were exhausted, culminating in a presumed terminal impact. The initial search became the largest, most expensive, and most complex in aviation history. It was an unprecedented international cooperative effort, involving multiple nations and cutting-edge technology to survey vast and deep areas of the seabed. Despite everything, the main fuselage and, infinitely more crucial to the investigation, the black boxes, the cockpit voice recorder and the flight data recorder, were never located. The failure of the main search allowed the mystery to settle, dense and cold over the tragedy, fueling countless conspiracy theories and catastrophic scenarios. The first tangible and officially confirmed evidence that the MH370 had ended its existence in the waters of the Indian Ocean came more than 1 year later, in July 2015. This discovery occurred thousands of kilometers from the initially defined search area. A wing fragment, unequivocally identified as a flaperon belonging to a Boeing 777, appeared on the shore of the Reunion Island, a French territory located east of Madagascar. This discovery represented a crucial moment of bittersweet relief. He physically and irrefutably validated the hypotheses based on complex analyses of satellite data, the so-called intermittent pings from Inmarsat, which had positioned the final arc of the aircraft in the southern Indian Ocean. From that moment on, ocean currents, those great invisible highways of the global ocean, assumed the role of silent messengers, dragging and distributing more debris along the coasts of East Africa and its adjacent islands. In the following years, additional fragments identified with a high forensic probability as originating from MH370 were recovered from Mauricio. Parts of the cabin's interior lining and sections of the tail were found. Mozambique, triangular pieces with a stenciled number that matched the components of the Malaysia Airlines aircraft. Tanzania and South Africa, more wreckage that included sections of the aircraft's internal and external structure. These scattered and belated findings confirm two fundamental and often forgotten truths. First, that the remains of an aircraft crash can be transported thousands of kilometers for years before surfacing on remote shores. And second, that the ocean has the ability to conceal a major body of evidence, the fuselage, while slowly releasing, at the mercy of the currents, its lighter and more buoyant components. The appearance of the remains of MH370, despite being a modern event, perfectly illustrates the geographical and physical phenomenon of how the ocean manages and, over time, reveals its long-term secrets. The surface currents of the Indian Ocean, notably the South Equatorial Current, function like immense conveyor belts. When a large aircraft crashes or plunges into the sea, the main fuselage, the heaviest sections containing the engines, landing gear, and black boxes, sinks rapidly due to its high density. However, the lighter components, which include parts made of fiberglass, plastic, foam materials, and hollow parts of the wing, such as the flaperon or cockpit, can retain zero or positive buoyancy, allowing them to float or remain suspended in the water column for months or even years. These fragments become passive playthings of the currents. The time it takes for them to wash ashore on a distant coast is a direct function of the current speed, the aerodynamic and hydrodynamic resistance of the fragment to the water, and the oceanic convergence points. The flaperon's journey to Reunion Island, estimated at about 16 months, is a testament to the slowness and unpredictable drift of these ocean voyages. Leave your like, subscribe, and share. The MH370 has therefore become not only a case of disappearance, but an unwitting, large-scale experiment on the dynamics of global ocean currents and the durability of aeronautical materials under constant exposure to salt water. If a 10-year-old fuselage remains hidden, it is perfectly understandable why the remains of aircraft from 70 years ago, such as those from the time of World War II, continue to be such rare, sporadic discoveries, and often in an advanced state of decomposition and unrecognizability. Despite the emergence of multiple fragments, the fundamental mystery of MH370 remains an unsolved enigma in its causal essence. This profound lack of closure is what cements it as a modern symbol of emerging remains without a complete explanation. The primary objective of any air accident investigation is the recovery of the black boxes. Only these devices can provide the technical data and voice recordings necessary to determine the sequence of events that led to the loss of the aircraft. In the case of the MH370, the continued absence of the main fuselage has prevented investigators from confirming or definitively ruling out any of the prevailing theories about the cause of the tragedy, deliberate act of the pilot, or a crew member. The most debated theory in aeronautical circles. It suggests that someone in the cockpit, presumably the pilot in command, intentionally disabled the communication systems and diverted the plane south on a ghost flight until fuel was exhausted. Catastrophic technical failure or fire. The possibility of a sudden failure, such as a fire or explosive depressurization, that incapacitated the crew, leaving the aircraft to fly on autopilot until it ran out of fuel. Without the core evidence, the enigma persists. Each new fragment that washes up on a distant beach is a bittersweet reminder. It offers definitive confirmation of the plane's final fatal location, but not an explanation of because it ended in that place and in that way. The intermittent appearance of remains over the years in multiple countries keeps alive the pain and, paradoxically, the hope of the relatives of the 239 people on board. For them, each new discovery is a reactivation of the trauma, but also the tangible promise that the case, however unsolvable it may seem, will not be forgotten by the world. The fragments that surface in the ocean have acted as catalysts for periodic reactivations of the searches. Although these have often been private in nature, funded by salvage companies with state-of-the-art deep-sea mapping technology, the MH370 case has inadvertently spurred important innovations in deep seabed mapping and autonomous underwater vehicle (AUV) technology, demonstrating humanity's tenacious determination to solve the unsolvable. The story of the MH370, with its wandering wreckage and phantom fuselage, has been etched into the public consciousness as the great aeronautical mystery of the 21st century. It has become the obligatory point of reference for any discussion about missing aircraft, often supplanting older aviation histories. The MH370, although a contemporary event, encapsulates and reinterprets the myth of the missing aircraft that the sea refuses to let go of completely. The fragments that have appeared on the shores of the Indian Ocean do not come from a plane lost 70 years ago, but they fulfill the same narrative, forensic and emotional function. They are the tangible and fragmented echoes of a tragedy that neither time nor technology has been able to bury. These remains, from the crucial flaperon found in Reunion to the smaller pieces in Mozambique, are, in essence, encrypted messages sent across the ocean. The sea tells us, the plane is here, but its secret remains down there. As long as the main fuselage and black boxes remain hidden in the vast, dark, and deep seabed, the MH370 will continue to be the aircraft whose remains, as they emerge from the ocean, remind us of the immensity of unsolved mysteries and the relentless solitude of the deep sea. The case has redefined what disappearance means in the digital age and the era of global interconnectivity. It demonstrates that even with constant satellite tracking, sophisticated radars, and global media coverage, the planet, especially the vastness of its oceans, still has the overwhelming ability to swallow and hide objects the size of a Boeing 777, returning to us only fragmented and painful clues, the incomplete silhouette of a disaster whose final chapter remains unwritten. Leave your like, subscribe, and share. Until next time.